ultimately, what the lab is trying to do is use this sort of interdisciplinary team so that we can use the science of psychiatry, the science of what we're seeing with regard to people who are survivors of these human rights violations, and apply that in a way through courts or through legal mechanisms so that ultimately policies can be changed. Ultimately, the people who are the survivors of these crimes can have some kind of justice or some kind of access to something that they didn't have access to before.
So our lab is devoted to working at the intersection of trauma mental health and the legal process. And we consider legal processes very broadly defined. So anything from a domestic immigration proceeding or trials happening before an international criminal court or a transitional justice mechanism within a particular country that may not constitute a criminal trial but is somehow legalistic or dealing with questions of justice and past historical harms. And so our goal is to really help inform those legal processes about the impact of human rights abuses on the psyche of human beings cross-culturally. And what the research shows is that although there are some cross-cultural differences, the human psyche reacts very similarly to acts of severe trauma. So we see things that would be diagnosable as PTSD cross-culturally, major depression, anxiety. Sometimes they're called different things, or victim communities have different metaphors that they use to describe those processes and what it feels like to be experiencing those processes. But they, using the DSM and other tools of Western psychiatry and psychology, were able to make those diagnoses. And so that is informative to the court. It's helpful from the perspective of validating the victim's testimony. When they say they've been damaged, we can show clinically that that damage existed. We can aggregate those data in order to show that there was a widespread or a systematic attack against a civilian population. That's one of the predicates for a showing of crimes against humanity. It's also relevant at the time of sentencing to show the harm that a defendant's course of conduct caused to an individual, her family, her community, even intergenerationally. And it's relevant when the court is designing a sort of reparation regime.
There's an important bridge that we're looking to kind of build, connecting our two fields. You know, the legal fields and the mental health fields have historically or too often kind of operated independently, and there's really some exciting ways that we can work together. So, you know, particularly thinking about what we know about, you know, where the field of psychology is at in terms of understanding the science of traumatic stress, how it impacts psychological functioning, biological functioning, how it impacts brain structure and functioning. There's a lot of ways in which our field has advanced in recent years, and it's an exciting time to bring that information and knowledge to the legal field and think about how that can be applied in court cases and courtrooms, particularly when it comes to human rights violations, which inherently involve traumatic experiences.
I think the other thing about our lab that is very special is that it's a Stanford lab. And because it's a Stanford lab, we take the education part very, very seriously. And we're creating, you know, I hope a very unique kind of laboratory in that we're really trying to welcome people from all different parts of Stanford to come and work here and get some education. So our faculty, definitely, our faculty in the law school and the human rights school and here in the Department of Psychiatry, you know, giving generously of themselves and really being the scientists.
Thinking about the next 5 years, we want to think about, you know, making kind of the resources that we're utilizing, the information that we're accessing and disseminating, make it available to all folks. So we've, you know, this is information that anyone can access and utilize. So, you know, one thing that we're interested in is building a bit of a library or database that can be available to anyone.
A lot more student involvement is, I think, a big goal of ours. So we run at the Honda Center a new degree program, a human rights minor. We have opportunities for internship funding and fellowship funding for students. And we also get graduate students who are interested in getting involved in our work. And whenever we talk about the work of the Trauma Mental Health Lab, they light up. There's so much excitement and interest in being involved somehow And sort of at our current size and scope of projects, it's sort of more limited, the number of students that we can really meaningfully involve in the work. And I would love to grow that, because one of the benefits of being a university-based interdisciplinary collaboration is that we have access to experts, different kinds of faculty in different departments, and to this sort of deep bench of students who have the time and the energy to sort of deeply immerse themselves in some of these things. So we want to tap those resources. We think we could have a huge impact. We could scale up a lot of the projects that we're doing.
Really like to do is create the standard that other labs or other mental health scientists can use going forward, and create the best model for collaborating with legal processes.